What was the most NSFW experience you've had at work? I sell mattresses and bag. When I first started I had a woman come in that looked straight out of Jersey Shore. I built some rapport and, based on her needs, recommended she try a bed. Instead of just laying on the bed like a normal human being, she proceeded to climb in the bed on all fours. With her ass facing me, she looked over her left shoulder back at me and said, "I feel like I could get a good duck on in this bed." Being new, I wasn't really sure how to respond, so I just said, "Yep, I'm sure you could. Unzips, go on." She then looked me in the eyes and with a sly smile asked me what I could do to help. I walked over and got closer to her. I told her that I had an amazing package that would make her legs go weak. She grinned with anticipation about what was coming next. I leaned in real close and whispered in her ear, "We are offering 12-month financing." I've walked in on my boss banging the secretary on the copier. In his defense, he was married to the secretary, and it was a Saturday when the office was usually closed. Yeah, but how do you think the copier felt being used like that? It's used to it. Hell, it suggested the idea in the first place. Our CFO asked me to hack into the website of a photographer who had taken erotic pregnancy photos of him and his wife. Apparently the photographer was pulling a bait and switch and had jacked up the price, and the CFO felt entitled to steal them for free. I was going to tell him it was unlikely I could just hack the site, because it's not like in the movies, but he showed me a sample image and got it. The image source was like gallery, CGI, FILENAME equals IMG 123,413,515. JPG and WATERMARK equals TRUE and SIZ equals SMALL. What are the odds? I told him I could do it, but he said that due to the sensitive nature of the content, I couldn't work on my own computer or leave his office until it was done, and I had to swear to secrecy. Also, he never got up from the only chair, so I had to kneel at his computer, installing Peril and Widget and teasing out the numbering system for the pictures. 30 minutes later I staggered back into the cubicle farm, and my fellow programmers were like, "What was this secret thing he wanted your help with?" And I said, "I'm not allowed to talk about it, but my knees are really sore and I'm going to go home early today." One of the guys literally did a spit take before I realized how that sounded. I never did live that down, although I did memorize the URL for the photos in case I ever needed those pics in an emergency. Close bracket. It's an emergency. I need those pics too. Hey, it's me, your CFO. The other night on a graveyard shift at my place of work, I was going from the front office to the kitchen to put some dishes away. To get to the kitchen I decided to take the shortcut through the employee lounge. I opened the door and briskly hopped up a few stairs and heard the squeaking of someone getting up from a leather couch seat we have in the room. A coworker of mine seemed particularly shocked and was standing there, breathing heavily with a flushed face and neck. I asked how she's doing, and while adjusting her blouse, she said, "Fine. Just waiting for some stuff copies to finish printing." I said okay, playing dumb, and went to the kitchen. On the way back to the front I stopped by the copy machine and saw no copies being made, and I'm quite sure I walked in on my coworker masturbating at 4 AM. Please apply hand to forehead. Head on. Apply directly to the forehead. I once had to test our antivirus, so I was tasked with infecting a virtual machine with viruses. It was weird for an it intern to be told to surf the worst of the worst porn sites. Hi, I'm an EMT in the Boston area and I just wanted to share this experience with you cause it's kind of funny / weird / sad. So it starts as a typical 911 call. An elderly female fell, and there is a possible head wound. We arrive on scene to find fire is already there and inside, so we proceed right in. The old woman lives alone and fell, hit her head, and cut it in the process and passed out. She had woken up, found her head was bleeding, and crawled to a phone to call her granddaughter for help. It was the granddaughter who called 911. The base of her walls looked like a horror movie, her fingers leaving bloody streaks down the hall where she had crawled. PT lived and made it home fine, so the scene was not great. We find the grandmother and start care. Standard stuff. However, the granddaughter is there too. and she is just flirty as hell. And not subtle about it. She was hiking up her dress past her cuff lower extremities and towards her lower abdomen. And she wasn't wearing any underwear. Also the granddaughter was in her late 20s. I did my best to ignore her, but she was right there in my face. She was flashing myself, my partner and the 3 other firemen, while her grandmother was being backboarded and collared, bleeding, right in front of her. Edit, yeah, she was cute, but 85 is a little too old for me. When grandma wingmans, she doesn't duck around. Mine is much tamer. Had a coworker that used to wear fairly short skirts to work daily. Every morning she would pop by at the start of her day and sit on top of the desk across from me. Every morning I could see up her skirt, cause it was literally at eye level. Pretty weak compared to the rest of this thread. We had this new hire at my job a few years back. Pretty girl, young and curvy. She would dress the same way, showing about as much skin as possible. I think she used to be a stripper. Anyway, she was fine. But for whatever reason she always had this chip on her shoulder about other female coworkers hating on her and saying her ass was fake. One day she got into an argument with another girl who was allegedly calling her a hoe with a fake body. Well, she got pretty pissed. To address this, she got out of her seat, turned her back to me, the only male in the room at the time, and started slapping her ass in my face. She then began to bend over and twerk in front of me for probably a whole minute before sitting down and asking if that shit looks fake. Apostrophe. Needless to say, she didn't last long. But I got a lap dance at the office. I don't know. Let me see again. Apostrophe. I was working at some big Canadian coffee chain when I was 16 and there was an annual meeting that the manager was organizing. I guess she couldn't find a babysitter for her son, so she brought him along. The problem with this is that he was actually a man in his 20s with the mental capacity of a toddler. The guy was easily a head taller than me and would wander onto the floor behind the counter, would come back into the kitchen where I was baking donuts, and would simply take it and eat it in front of me with a shit-eating grin. Also, despite acting like a toddler, he apparently had a sex drive and decided that pulling up women's shirts and grabbing boobs and butts was a good way to pass the time. So here I am, a 16-year-old trying to do my goddamn job when the manager's 21-year-old mentally challenged son just decided to very firmly grope my butt. I turned to him and told him to not do that and to not touch me. Why? He asked me. I'm a man. Apostrophe. Yeah, I'm glad I'm out of there. The manager was a miserable old woman anyway. It seems like his mom should have been more aware of her son. His mother was not a very nice human being. She should have been more aware. But I had it in my mind as a young teen that nothing would come of it. And if anything, I'd be reprimanded. Our SQL Server databases are auto-commit by default. We got a badass over here. This happened to a coworker of mine while we taught together at an inner city high school. She went to the copy room one day and found 2 male students prison pounding each other. As she turned on the light and saw what was going on, they stopped, pulled up their pants, ran out of the room, and one smacked the papers she was holding out of her hand to stop her from following them. She didn't recognize them, and we didn't have cameras, but one of them left their book bag in the room, which helped her identify them. 2 things stuck out to me about this event. The first was that this woman was truly one of the kindest, most benevolent for the children type people this could have happened to. The second was that the kid giving it was a class bully who called other guys F-God all the time, yet was giving it to one of the loudest, proudest gay kids in the school. I consistently see the naked bodies of people I work with. I'm a costume designer and it's common for actors to change in front of me. I see tits daily. Note to self: become better with design and colors and clothes in general. Edit. Really? This is my highest upvoted comment. Reddit is a weird, beautiful place. Note to self: become better. Fucked a customer in the disabled toilets when I worked in a bar. She was sober and up for it, so why the hell not? Which one of you was disabled? Clearly that poor woman. I worked overnight as a convenience store clerk when I was 20. A drunk woman came in and was thirsty, but had no money. I offered her coffee for free, since it's not inventoried, or some tap water, but she didn't want them. She wanted apple juice. She offered to flash me for some apple juice. I said sure. She went off camera and lifted her top and bra for like 3 seconds. 3 great seconds. She went and took 2 apple juices. I didn't mind. She left happy. I was happy. It was a good night and all it cost was 2 apple juices on my tab. Hope she was a golden delicious and not a Granny Smith. Offer a bit more and you might get to see her pink lady. Not very sexual I guess. But when I first started working in the hotel industry, a Delta flight attendant took a liking to me and kissed me on the mouth unexpectedly when she was very drunk. After that, she went out for a smoke and I told the bartender that she needed to be cut off, especially because I knew their crew had a morning flight in 5 hours. She came in and went back to the bar, and watching from afar I saw the bartender dump her beer and then point at me when she got pissed. I began helping a VIP guest get up to his room thinking that there was no way she could hop in the elevator before we ascended. False. She jumped in through the gap in the doors Indiana Jones style and screamed at me about how I ruined her night, all the while holding her middle finger up an inch from my face. She got out on a random floor and after the doors closed, this Fortune 500 CEO guest just nonchalantly asked, "What did you do? Get her pregnant?" Apostrophe. Long story short, she was so drunk she couldn't remember her room number, caused a huge inconvenience for security, and wasn't listed as a guest at all on any of the rooms we had because of their company contract. She eventually made it to the room in the early hours of the morning, but because of her behavior our hotel property had to contact Delta, and I'm assuming she was let go or relocated because I never saw her again with our regular flight crew. To answer the question, it's probably a toss-up between that experience or the time that a mother offered me $500 to do a strip show for her daughter's bachelorette party. Mother offered me $500 to do a strip show for her daughter. Sounds like you got step 1 and step 2 on lockdown. The importance of a before mother. I wish this wasn't a true story. We were once having a discussion at work in which we couldn't remember who starred in the action movie 30th. So I figured I would just Google the answer. So I type 30th into my Google search on my work computer. But then I take a moment and stop and think, wait, that's not a good idea. And after a nanosecond of consideration, I solved my problem by adding the word movie. I googled 30th movie on my work computer. It was Vin Diesel. BTW. Similar experience here. Coworkers and I were talking about buying new golf clubs. One mentioned that Dick's Sporting Goods was having a sale. Another guy says, "Oh, I should check the website and see if it's worth heading over there at lunch." Oh dear god. Apostrophe. Us, what? Him, their website is not Dick's.com. I believe it is now though, or redirects to the correct website. I work in a strip club as a waitress and this one guy thought it was appropriate to try and stick his fingers into a dancer's hoo-ha. She punched him in the face and she was berated by the managers for mistreating a customer. Unbelievable. This happens at the strip club more often than people think. Too. A lot of my female friends work at the same strip club, and all of them have stories of men shoving their fingers in girls' vaginas, sucking breasts, masturbating in the club, etc. And the bouncer will never do anything about it. Occasionally someone gets kicked out, but they wind up right back in the next night. It's pretty sick. The clubs I went to in my younger days did not tolerate anyone messing with the girls, getting loud, or drunk. If you caused any issues your ass went flying out the door. You would have been lucky not to have something broken as you went flying. Posted this before. I used to be a store manager at sneaker/sporting goods store in the mall. One of my co-managers was ducking one of my underage employees in that back stock room after the store closed on a regular basis. This was going on for several months apparently. I found out when said teenager came to me and she said that my co-manager promised her a raise that she never got. I asked her why he said that he would give her a raise. That is when she told me about the sex in the stockroom. I had to call the police and corporate about this. We arranged a sting with help of the girl, as she acted out for the police that to meet up with my co-manager after work. Basically caught him with his pants down to use the term. This is a meter in NSFW. You took something that wasn't safe for work, contacted authorities, and made more work. It's NSFW work. Edit to say good on you for doing what you did and getting higher authorities involved. Close bracket. A crazy homeless lady came into my job. I'm pretty sure she was on crack. She walked up to the counter, pulled down her shirt and said, "Is my bra strap straight?" Sadly, I saw more than her bra strap. She stole something. Ops heart. Hand job from a coworker in an open cubicle office during work hours. She was showing me how to use new software. Hardware. FDFY. He was showing her his hardware. Years upon years ago, I put myself through college as a maintenance man at a public school in New York City. Dated a teacher at the school and did some NSFW stuff in the projector room above the auditorium and the computer room and the dark room and the photography/art room. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.